I want to talk about the emotional toll of doing academic research. So, if you are in it at this moment, you probably are going to resonate a lot with what I say. And if you are thinking about doing this, you have to be ready for it. You have to understand that everybody that I know, everybody in the entire profession is going to go through this. And it's not that academics are a bunch of whiners. We all go through this and we all experience this, and it's the nature of what is causing this. So what you're going to feel is a tremendous amount of despair. You're going to feel a tremendous amount of emotional stress. You're going to feel a tremendous amount of sadness. You're going to feel a tremendous amount of loneliness. You're going to feel all these kind of emotions that frankly are the worst parts of being human beings, right? And there's many reasons for this. I think that there's three really important reasons why this actually exists. I want to talk about those three important reasons, and then I also want to talk about how I process this, how do I deal with this. And it's probably not what you think it's going to be. It is very, very different, and I've had to learn how to do this. So I think, what are these three things that are causing this? I think the first thing is that the competitive nature, where you have to provide outputs all the time, it's structured in such a way. People don't realize this from the outside, but when you're in it, you realize everything is performative, everything is measured. And then the problem is that you have no help on how you actually meet those performative goals. You don't know how to actually get there. There's a big difference between somebody sort of showing you something and you working through this and you actually getting to the point where you're writing this thing up, or where you can actually do the act of research, or you're going out and doing something. It is very emotionally taxing when somebody says, provide some output in the next few months, and then they don't tell you how to actually do this. It is up to you to do this. There is a lot of, it's completely up to you to do everything. And that's one thing that you realize, that nothing is going to get done until you actually do it yourself. You realize that, no, it's up to me. And I have to do everything, right? So the second thing that I think is really, really symptomatic, really problematic in much of the research game, is that there is a lot of alone time where you are sitting by yourself in a room, nobody else is around. And frankly, I think that is symptomatic of the old style of doing work that's deeply embedded within academia. But it's also, you are more productive when you're by yourself, often. And so you push away the outside world, and your goal is to constantly push away the outside world until you're isolated and you're by yourself. You think in your mind that the more I push away the outside world, and it's true in the short term, the more I push away the outside world, the more that I isolate myself, the more productive I am. And that is true in the short term. In the long term, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And unless you're a highly unusual individual, and there are a few of those, but they tend to be the people that you don't necessarily want to be eventually, right? So I think that is an important part of the process. And this brings to the third part, is that many people in academia, many people in the whole research game are just truly wonderful. They're nice people, right? But they're all self-interested, very, very self-interested, because they have these competitive demands just like you. So they're thinking about, how do I prioritize my time so I'm not wasting my time, and I could be more productive, and I can look superior to everybody else. And that is the thought process. Now, it just takes one person out of 10 that you bump into that have kind of a corrupt way of thinking about this. So many people are just simply polite, and you'll be ignored. Nobody will pay attention to you, particularly those of you who are lower status, and we're all, I think, degrees of lower status within the profession, but you're going to be ignored. Nobody's going to pay attention to you. You're kind of irrelevant. All of those things you're going to experience those things, but you're going to run into one person out of 10, maybe it's out of 100, but that one person is just an absolute jerk that is not happy with themselves, is not happy with the things that are going on inside of them. And they're going to say weird comments. They're going to say sort of passive aggressive things. They're going to make you feel not great inside. And I'm going to admit, every once in a while, that might be me, because I'm not feeling good inside. I have done those things, and I think back and I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I think like that? Why did I say that? It's because I wasn't feeling good inside. I was trying to put on this air of superiority and all of that kind of stuff, right? And it's taken me years to process this and think about, where I'm going, and I'm still not there, right? This whole thing is a great big long journey. So those three things, right? Like, you bump into people that are jerks, and so that sets a precedent for you to not be nice to other people. It sets a precedent for you to pass on that awfulness, right? There is such thing as contagion of these sort of negative emotions, right? That does exist. The sort of nastiness does propagate. So what can you do, right? How do we process this? You got this going on. For me, the biggest thing that changed me is I walk around and I say, screw you to the rest of the world. I try to push away. I try to say, I'm not going to be like that. I am going to be a decent, honest person that tries to do good, as much good as I possibly can. And I'm going to repeatedly do that regardless of how I feel about things. I am going to, if somebody burns me, I'm going to cut off that relationship as quickly as I can, because I can't process that sort of toxicity or negative emotions that I have, because I realize that they're dealing with crap, and I'm not going to sit there and help them walk through the crap that's in their own life that they haven't processed themselves, right? And I can only take on so much. So what I do is I say, screw you to the rest of the world. If you're not part of the band that I'm looking for, if you're not part of building me up, if you're not part of a community that builds up everybody, I close my door. And I just say, these are my boundaries. And frankly, I just shut it off. If somebody has done that to me, it's just a shut off. But then I find the people, I find the community, I find people that get what I'm about, that understand that, that we're all well-intentioned, we're all trying to do wonderful things, and that will encourage people regardless of where they are, even if they're failing, even if they are, not doing that well. I try to imagine as myself is I'm in a room full of kindergartners. We're all a bunch of kindergartners. Believe it or not, we're all a bunch of kindergartners. And I imagine myself in a room full of kindergartners, and I say, who am I actually going to play with so that I could feel better about myself, and I could do better with me? And so I'll gravitate to those groups, those individuals that I feel good being around and that I love being around. And so I've got, groups of different various friends that we feel good around each other. And if need be, if something is not necessarily, if they start dragging me down, I cut it off. And I think you have to think about that as building these relationships that build you up, and think about how you could be part of a group that makes you feel good inside. And the first way that you think about doing that, first of all, try to smile. Life's too short. But then as well, figure out how you can find those groups where you are happy with yourself. And if you're the only one, if it's just you, right? Hopefully you are that one group. That's all you need. It's just a group of you that's happy with yourself. And then you realize, like, oh, wait a minute, everybody else is just really unhappy with themselves. They're not doing well. that's where you walk forward and say, I'm just going to be my own leader in my own self. And often that is me. And often I feel like that. And so I just walk forward, walking my walk, doing good things, and I repeatedly do that. I think that is actually right. I think is doing good things in this world. Doing these things are incredibly difficult, but that's what you have to do. You have to be a leader in your own life where you essentially give the whole world the middle finger and know that you're doing the right thing for yourself. And as long as you repeatedly do that, you have that boundary around you, that invisible boundary. It's kind of made up, right? All of it's made up, but you walk around and some people might think that you have rose-colored glasses. Some people might think that you're too optimistic or whatever. Who cares, right? As long as you're in the world of I'm just being happy and you're being helpful and you're doing good things for yourself and other people, right, that actually resonate with, find that community, find that group, find who you are. Maybe this is the only community. Many of you are watching these videos because this is your only community. Well, that's amazing. Thank you. But, try to go and find a bigger group that's beyond you that feels okay. And say screw you to the rest of the world. You don't need them in your life anyways. Remember that. You're good enough with who you are. And keep reflecting on the fact that you're good enough. You're a perfectly amazing human being. And just repeat that over time, all the time. You're good enough. You don't need to prove to the outside world that you are doing all these kind of things, whatever. It's on them for not recognizing it. You are the one that's actually doing good things, and you just repeat that over and over and over again. Have that, I get a little bit of a smirky smile in my head of like, I'm doing good stuff, and I'm kind of the shit. And as you do that, being kind and generous and nice to other people, good things, I believe good things come. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.